Okay.
And apparently we're live. That was
I
fast.
hope everybody got
What's
to
fast?
see the amount of LaCroix that is on my desk.
It's fine.
Do you know that there's a slogan for LaCroix? They have T-shirts and it says LaCroix before boys. And I really want one of those T-shirts.
Oh,
Just putting that
wow.
out into the world to my friends here.
I mean, why wouldn't you? That's fabulous. Welcome everyone. I am Jen Reads Romance. I'm here with Vanessa, Joanna, and Sarah on a very exciting release week.
Yay!
Yay! Here's how we're gonna start. Okay, Sarah, you're gonna go first because she picked a
Okay.
number. It's not favoritism.
The number was 3.
Yes, my number was 5. Vanessa picked 7. Then I got confused and I just picked Sarah. So maybe I did play fair. Okay.
Answer is always Sarah.
All right. Fine. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do, Sarah. I'm going to ask you to describe the book that came out this week. But the last word you speak is going to be the first word of one of their titles. So
Okay.
Devil or Duke. I'm going to show you how it works. And then that's how you're going to pass it on to them. So for example, if I was describing your book Day of the Duchess, I would say like, oh, it was amazing and here's what happened in this book, but it was rather bittersweet. And then Vanessa would know that she was next because she wrote the book The Bittersweet Bride. Now that's not her book this week, that was a sample. So you're going to talk about your book this week and end with one of those words so they know who goes next to describe their own book. You're frozen. I guess this is like not great.
You shocked Sarah with that request.
I know. She's like,
and she is now frozen because.
Okay. Well, maybe Vanessa should go since she's here with us. She was like, right?
She was second in line because
second
she
in
got
line.
number
Sarah-
7.
Sarah's
Okay.
gonna come back. All right, so Vanessa, just tell us about your book this week.
Well, my book this week is Bam, a Duke. Product placement, guys. No. This the Lady and a Baby. It features a West Indian heiress, and Sarah's back. So
All right,
maybe.
there she is. She's catching up with us. Okay.
So it features a West Indian heiress and a Duke.
Okay, but that was
I'm
your book.
back now.
Oh, okay, right. So a Duke. Okay, so Sarah, now it's your turn.
Wait, so it's just a word in Joanna's title? That's
Yes.
what I have to do?
That's how you have to end it. Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
It took me a second, but I'm right there and it's perfect. My book is the third in a series. And it's the villain of the last 2 books who is now the hero, who is wildly in love with a girl who he was in love with when he was a child, and then accidentally, sort of on purpose, tried to kill, and then ultimately is redeeming himself by both sort of repairing the relationship that he has with her brothers, and also going downtown.
Literally.
Nice. Well done.
Literally and figuratively. So now I have to do
You just get to talk about your book with no pressure.
great. Perfect. It's called The Devil of Downtown. Exactly what I wanted. The Devil of Downtown. It's the third in the Uptown Girls series. It features the criminal kingpin of New York City in the Gilded Age and an uptown do-gooder.
Very nice.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so I just thought that would be cute, you guys. I don't know.
It was cute.
Okay, thank you for supporting me.
It's
All
very
right.
cute.
So I have a couple of questions. So one of the things I thought would be really interesting is I know when you write historical romance, there are lots of readers who feel perhaps that there are things in your book that are ahistorical. So what I was thinking it would be really interesting to hear from each of you is like, what's something in your book that's accurate that you fear or you suspect that readers will actually be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that's actually historically true. Vanessa went first last time. So how about Joanna this time?
Well, I want to give Sarah's answer for her because I sort of know where it's going. I think.
Wait, where is it going?
Do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
The
Is it about
F-talk.
this-
The
Crosstalk
F-bomb.
welcome.
The F-bomb.
That
Yeah.
wasn't my answer,
Oh.
but it's a good one.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people, will pick on the language, especially curse words, thinking that, they're like something we invented in the last 20 years, which they're not. um, I sort of feel like I get dinged a lot for having really independent heroines.
Yeah.
And I read some statistic that I cannot remember at this point, but it was a very high number of women in the Gilded Age, in the Americas in the late Victorian era, that were already pregnant when they got married. It was very
wow.
high. It was shockingly high. So I'm just going to say, like, they were not getting pregnant under the watch of a chaperone. So
We
I
think.
I mean,
It was
maybe.
really kinky, the Gilded Age.
That's a really different story. So yeah, I would say like the notion that you couldn't find a way. Like when there's a will, there's a way.
Sure.
My heroines
Yeah,
have the will.
sure. Vanessa, what about you? Are there things that you wish people knew was actually historically accurate in your books?
Well, yes. The easy one is having a heroine that's a person of color. I've been taken to task, multitude of time because people don't know the history. Just because you watch Pride and Prejudice 82 times does not make you a historian. I'm sorry. It's one of my favorites. Don't get me wrong. And Black people weren't just in Africa and kings and queens in the BC time frame, and in 900 years they disappeared, and then they showed up in 1865 just for slavery.
I'm sorry, I'm
That did
laughing.
not happen, right?
Yeah.
There are people, yes, during this particular time frame there is enslavement, but there's would be 10 to 20,000 free Blacks living in London during the time of Jane Austen, which is why Jane Austen's very last book, Sanditon, the wealthiest woman in the book, is a mulatto woman from the West Indies.
Yeah.
Would Jane, who's a contemporary writer, just write something because she felt like it?
No.
Or would she write what she's seeing, this migration back and forth? So
Yeah.
that's the easy one. The harder one is artificial limbs.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So artificial limbs were a thing. People figured out how, unfortunately, using catgut.
It's okay. We
But they would
Cat
actually
guts?
make mechanical hands and limbs because
Mechanical ones.
mechanical ones. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
There were so many war injured coming back from all of the various wars that people got industrious and figured out how to do things. So that is, and
Wow, that's really
I
interesting.
always include a bibliography, or what do you call it, notes at the back or something. So
Yeah.
read all
Yeah,
that.
right. Sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and
the author's note is critical.
Yeah.
Because if you don't write it, you get stuck, right? And
Yeah.
you end up, my most famous one is I wrote an indoor swimming pool, like a private indoor swimming pool in a book. And I once a month easily get an email from somebody who's concerned that my characters are getting dysentery in this pool, and they're not. And there were, in fact, like private swimming pools in London in the 1830s, or 20s and 30s. But what I like to say is there is actually very rarely do I come up with an idea, or do I need there to be an invention or a thing that I can use that doesn't already exist in some capacity. And certainly that goes double for profanity, sex, like all that stuff. If you can dream it, so could they.
could they.
And it was happening.
That's
Joanna is famous for having done the real research on whether you could have penetrative sex in a carriage.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
And you
Which-
can.
which
And
scarred
you
my
can.
son, who accidentally listened to that part of the podcast and almost like commando rolled out of the car. So,
I'm sorry.
Actually, I was going to ask about like the process, because so for example, Vanessa, like talking about there being real mechanical artificial limbs, like, is it something, and maybe it's like both, Anna, you can talk about it, where you come across some interesting fact and think, I want to include this in a book? Or is this like, I want to go searching for how men who came back from war, might have experienced treatment? Like, so like, can you come up with like, which one is it? And maybe it's both, but like, how do you go down that research rabbit hole?
It's actually both, right? So sometimes you're looking for something totally different, and you end up in the archives in the UK and you start looking at newspapers and you'll see, oh my gosh, like Rambler magazine was a thing, right? It sounds like a present day magazine, and this is something that's like early 1800s, might even be in the 1700s. No, actually it was 1789, because that's another book coming up, but that's side note. So yeah, you just find things, and I'm a collector, so I will copy it, I will paste it, I'll attribute where I found it, because I'll never find it again. Never.
Like the internet, right? You're like, where did that tweet go?
Exactly.
What about you, Joanna?
Sometimes I will go looking for something specific. Like it's almost like you have the theory and you're backtracking because you want to prove it, something that I'm just sure was true. And then I'll figure out that, yeah, it was. But then other times I will discover something that will totally blow my mind. Like I just learned about about Victorian hat pins that were used. They used them to stab mashers on the street in America. And they became such a problem that, like, after we went into the 20th century, they started cracking down on the length of the hat pin that you could actually wear, because women were using them so often. And so they were, so harmful that they, of course, went after the and not the guys who were
sure, like, let's police the hat pins.
Yeah, exactly. I had to put that in a book.
Women.
Yeah, that's patriarchy distilled right there, isn't it? What about you, Sarah?
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, it's a little of both. It's both and, in the sense that, I mean, I found on Reddit, like down a rabbit hole on Reddit years and years ago, the underwater ballroom at Whitley Park, and this weird, really eccentric billionaire, but like at the time, not billionaire, but like very, very rich dude, built this wild underwater structure, and he sunk it into the middle of his lake on his estate. And you can find pictures of it online. And for literal years, I sat on that ballroom and didn't tell anybody about it, because I was like, no one is taking this from me. And I was really mercenary about this ballroom. And then I finally had a reason to put it into a book, because I was like, I can't just have them like go to a party there. Like, it has to be a reason why this ballroom exists. I did put an author's note in, though, so that I did not get emails. But the reality is, like, that guy was incredible. He ended up strung up for tax evasion or tax fraud. And when he was convicted, the moment he was convicted, he took a cyanide pill and died. He's like, I'm not going to prison. Cyanide.
Wow.
So you can, I mean, like, wow.
Wow.
Also, very useful back pocket way to get rid of somebody in a pinch in a book.
Sure.
Like, so, but Whitley Park exists. You can go there. You can't go. They don't let people into the ballroom anymore, surely because they're afraid that at some point this whole thing is gonna
just collapse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fill with water.
Really interesting. Okay. All right. I have a question about, like, because all of you are, many books into your career at this point, and so I have some questions about craft, about writing. And Vanessa, in particular, I'm really interested in this book that you, I think this is the first time, I didn't check every book, but I think where you did the heroine in first person and the hero in third.
That's the second book.
Oh, is it the second? Okay. Because I was like looking back through the ones I've read, but like, so can you talk a little bit about, like, maybe it doesn't have to be that, but like when you make like a craft like choice like that or a decision, like how does that challenge you as a writer?
It challenges you because you always start second guessing yourself. Like, oh crap, I did it. I maybe I should have done it, because the traditional romance reader is used to third person, particularly in
For
historical,
historicals, right?
third person, deep third person, and to do first person is a risk. And it's like, how many risks do you want to take, Vanessa? Right? You're already kind of writing stories that no one is telling at this moment in time, and now you're going to throw in this whole first person thing just for kicks, right?
I bet it was for
punishment.
more than just kicks. I bet you
Yeah,
had a
no.
reason for doing it.
It is so rare to see a woman of color as the lead in a historical. And I think as I was writing it, I hear in my head these people saying that I can't relate, I can't feel. And I really wanted you to feel patient. So when she came in my head, she was first person, and it was hard to switch her back to third. And so I just let her be free, and I let her tell her story, because I want to center you in her experience. And I think that that will give people empathy of looking at history in a different way.
I love that.
Joanna, do you feel like you took some risks on this last book?
I feel like Sarah should go next.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going in the order of my screen. I'm going to come back to you, Sarah.
Fine. The only thing I'll say about about the risk was that, how do you take, they're on such opposite ends. I mean, he is literally, the guy that runs the entire criminal enterprise in the city, and she is, out to kind of save the world. So I didn't, when I started writing it, I didn't really have a clear idea of how they were going to get to where they needed to go. But I was convinced that I could probably do it. So I tried.
And she did.
I was like, you guys are talking about all the risks that worked.
You
So
did the thing. You did the thing.
Right.
A beautiful thing.
what about you, Sarah?
Wait, what was the question?
What do you feel like there was any risk taking involved in this, in Daring in the Duke?
Oh my God. Well, yeah. I was terrified. I mean, I was terrified I couldn't pull it off, right? Because I didn't. We've seen a lot of villains turned heroes in books, in historicals, certainly. I mean, in all of romance. It's an archetype, right? We've seen a lot of morality chain, but we don't often see the bad things that the heroes do on the page. Certainly not. I saw somebody talking about the book the other day, and they were like, I didn't expect it to be a dark romance, because, and I didn't expect, Sarah MacLean to write a dark romance, so I couldn't understand how she was going to pull this off. And I think that's true. Like, I was not going to write a dark romance. I was not going to write, a true morality chain romance novel, which meant that I had to really pull it off. And Sophie Jordan and I talk all the time about how when you have that idea as a writer, when you're sort of thinking to yourself, like, ooh, that's scary. Like, that's a scary idea. I don't know that I want to write that idea. You sort of that means that's the idea, that you have to write into fear in order to get to a place where you have written a book that does a thing. And, maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, but at least you tried.
Yeah. One of the things I was trying to think, like, so besides the fact that they all came out on the same day, like, right, and they're different. I mean, Vanessa, you're like really right in the Regency. Sarah's like on the, kind of turning Victorian. We have Gilded Age New York. But like one common theme I was thinking about for all of your books was about like family, and not just, and children, right? Like not just like sort of found family or whatever, but like sort of like building a family and like looking towards a future. I mean, like for Justine and Jack, I don't know if that was explicit, but I think a lot about like her and her sisters. So, and I guess maybe I don't want to go in the same order every time, but Joanna doesn't seem to like to go first. So I'm going to go opposite. I'll start with Sarah again. What do you think, like, why is like, how do children and family play into like your books, and like why is that like a theme that maybe is important in 2020?
You know, I think family is wrapped up in, I really like identity books. I like books that are about who a person is, both who they believe they are at the beginning of the book, who they discover they are as the journey continues, and then who they end up as, like who they will be in love and in the future. And I think that family is a really lovely way when you show a person with their family, or you show a person on the quest for family, or you show a person kind of yearning for family, which is I think what I did in my book. Ewan yearns for this like family that is Grace's, right? That was his and is now hers. And I think when you do that, you really unpack the humanity of the character. You unpack the real core of them, their core story. And so for me, family is a quick way to do that, but it's also not, I want to clarify that I'm not necessarily talking about biological family. I'm talking about like found family, just the safety of family, the comfort of family, the hope that comes with family. I think it makes a character more real when they want connection.
Vanessa, what about you?
I love family books, particularly found family books. And in A Duke, the Lady, and the Baby, I present you with several. So you have the Widow's Grace, which is this group of women who bound together to right the patriarchy for widows within the society. So you get, and as we go through the series, this was book one, as we go through the series, you're going to see how the networking and how they are in each other's corner, because I think in this year of 2020, sisterhood is so important. Mm-hmm. It's keeping us, our heads together. It's keeping us straight. It's helping us, you know, as we wake up in these uncertain times, it's giving us a little bit of certainty, because I know my sister has my back, kind of thing. And then I just love men with babies, right? You get
Fair.
this sweetness of, particularly my hero. He's a military man. He's fresh from the battlefield, and he's bonding with little Lionel. And I think that is just, it just, to me, I thought it was heartwarming, particularly as the changes he has to go through, because, you know, at the beginning, he wants to make a man of this baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it softens him too, right? I mean, it's like really gives him back his connection to humanity in a way that was like really lost on that battlefield. So like it was really a unexpected and really like winning part of that book, like how protective of the baby he was. It was really, yeah. So
which it's fun to show that stuff on the page, because
yeah,
you know, in reality, you know, most of the children were kept like in another wing. You know, it would have been like raised by, you know, staff. So I always think it's nice to show, you know, heroes with kids on the page. Not that I do it very often, but
yeah, I was going to say, I was like,
I don't feel like that's like, I don't feel like that's in my wheelhouse, but I love to read it.
No, I feel like of the three of us, Vanessa's really the one who writes children.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
No offense, Joanna.
None taken.
Oh,
I mean, that's how I feel about kids. It's like, oh, I don't want to put them on the page. That way lies danger.
Sarah, you like use the baby log a lot, but I mean,
I do. I love
this
a baby log.
It's not just. I mean, this is like the baby is a titular character, right?
I know, but Joanna, Vanessa's done that.
Yeah.
A number of times. Like she loves it. Vanessa,
Yeah.
you love a baby.
Love a baby, right? Love a baby. It's just because I think it brings out, well, first, when you do it well, and I'm not, you know, saying anything about my craft, but they're not just
I'll say it.
there.
You do it well.
You
It's
do it
not
well.
love, right? The baby's adding something to the
Yes.
story. And you get to see that little extra bit of humanity. And I think when you've got all these different forces, because, you know, I usually have mystery and suspense, and it's just that moment of, it's a baby.
As opposed to me, who's like, where did I put that damn baby?
Yeah.
Wait, we haven't seen that baby in 4 chapters. Where is that baby?
Right. In the other wing, being taken care of by the staff. It's fine. Right?
daddy.
Cares.
Joanna, what about you? I mean, there's not really babies in your book, but there's sisterhood, like really explicitly in an interesting way in this book. And
Yes, and most of the heroes come from broken home situations, and they sort of seek out their own families in their, as they become adults, they make their own, whether it's through, Clay and his friend that owns the brothel next door and his factotum that he's close with, or, Jack and his criminal empire. I mean, they sort of find their family, which feels like sort of Gilded Age, especially for the immigrants who came over, that maybe you didn't have your family with you and you had to sort of, develop a safety net, a friendship net, in the country.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can I, since I have you with me, like one of the things I did think was really interesting in your book though was, in previous books, Florence and Mamie are kind of wild ones, right? And then when Justine starts like acting up and really out wilding them, they really turn into like kind of matronly, right? Like they really try and like come down on her. And I will admit to you, I as a reader, like really struggled with this because I wanted them to be like kind of cheering her on. And it was really interesting to sort of, I don't have sisters, by the way, so I don't know how it really works. But I was like, wait.
So I have 2 older sisters.
Yeah.
That is who Mamie and Florence are actually based on. And I
Your middle sister's name is Fuck Yeah Florence.
It's close. No, a lot of their personality traits come from my 2 older sisters, and I am the baby sister. And I can tell you, in my experience, and that's what I base Justine on, that when you grow up with older siblings, they pigeonhole. Sarah's nodding her head because she knows exactly what I'm going to say. And Vanessa, I don't know if you have siblings too, but
I'm the only girl, so it's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
Well, you get pigeonholed into like a slot, a role, and no matter how old I get, how many books I write, how successful I become, whatever, I am like, my family thinks of me as like this just nincompoop. I mean, like I am like always like,
Yes.
but like, fine, I can take it. Like I can be the butt of a joke. I can laugh. Like it doesn't, but like once your family sees you as X, in my experience, it's impossible to move to Y. And that's sort of where Florence and Mamie are coming from, because they're like, you're naive, you're our little sister, you don't know what you're doing. And she's like, back off, you two, I do know what I'm doing. So it's based on like my experience with my sisters.
That's interesting.
I love you, Justine.
I love Justine too. I have 2 brothers.
She's
I don't know,
real.
Vanessa. I am also the only girl in my family. I have 2 brothers, but I'm like, nobody puts baby in a corner. Like nobody messes with me. And my brothers and I are all just like, what the fuck, so it's fine. Okay. One other thing that I thought was in common in your books was that each of the heroines in particular, and I would say the heroes too, are really about like determining their own course, right? Not letting society dictate the life they're going to live. And I mean, maybe that like kind of circles back around to the beginning, right? Like, what is it that people say is, ahistorical? So maybe we can start with Joanna this time, if you're up for it. Why is it important to you? Or like, how do these characters come to you that they are so self-determined, like not worried about society?
You mean the heroes?
Or the heroines, either. I think the hallmark to me to all of these books, right? Like, I mean, the family stuff, but like when I think about the main characters, even though these books are so different in time periods, I think they really have that in common, like self-determination. I mean, patience, especially, right? Justine, maybe, heroines, but I think the heroes respect that. I think they are attracted to that.
Well, for me, the Gilded Age sort of lends itself to an attitude of every man or woman for himself. I mean, it was like just a cash grab. I mean, it was like, how fast can we build? How much can we control? Um, you know, and it was, there were no rules. There was no oversight. There was no laws. There was no, I mean, it was just like the Wild Wild West. So, the heroes for sure have that mentality of like, how much power can I get? How much money can I earn? And then the women are sort of, in the Gilded Age, we see women start to come into their own a lot, you know, moving in off the farms and working in offices and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's about sort of women finding those new careers, those new opportunities, that new independence that didn't exist maybe as much in prior eras.
Vanessa, what about you?
Patience really has no choice in a respect, because she tried to play by the rules with her first husband, and with his death, and it didn't work because it wasn't quite a happy marriage. She wants to do life differently. She thinks that, you know, I tried to play it by all the rules and it didn't work out. So this time I'm going to play by my own rules. And the Duke of Reppington, he's a man of the times. He's used to commanding and doing what he wants. And now he has a life-changing injury, and he doesn't want people to put him in a box that says you can't do this anymore. You can't do this. So he wants to find his way. And he does, you know, by the end of the book, he realizes there are things he's got to give up because it's because of the injury. But he's doing life on his terms. So I think it's very much like you're saying. They're choosing to be who they are and navigating their way through to make it successful.
Yeah.
I think that for Grace, name is destiny. You know, literally in her case. I mean, she's baptized with the name of a duke. And I think for her, when she is forced as a child she's forced to escape a life where she was basically a placeholder, right? Like she was born and used as a placeholder in Burke's peerage until there could be a boy who would replace her and become Duke. And so I think for her, it's about taking the power that punished her and punished all these people who she loved, and continues to punish power in the 1830s. You know, very rich, very white, powerful men, were constantly prohibiting power, stepping on power every time a group of people tried to take it. Marginalized people and women tried to take it. And Grace isn't standing for it. You know, she's built a kingdom of her own, we talk about in Covent Garden, which is filled with working class and the working poor, who are all building a city and building a world. And she refuses to let the aristocracy and nobility and the people who have always had power have power in her world. So for me, Grace is just sort of an extension of every other Sarah MacLean heroine, except she has more rage, I think, than many of them, because I have more rage than I have had for a while this year. So, I mean, you can't deny the fact that you sort of write yourself into all of your characters, and here we are, you know.
Right. One thing so we have only a few more minutes, and then before we wrap up, for sure, we want Vanessa to talk about where you can follow her. One of the things that's really interesting is, like, of course, it's release week, but these books have been done for months, right? You know what I mean? Like, so, and I know that one question I know people always ask is like, what's next? But I don't want you to necessarily talk about what's next in terms of like telling me about the plot of the next book. I am interested in hearing about what's next in terms of what you hope to achieve with the next book. So it doesn't have to be about the plot, but like, is there something you're really trying to do? A heroine, like a character you're trying to make, something, I mean, so, when you think about your journey as an author, like, what are you hoping for that's going to come next for you? Vanessa?
The next book, and I just recently saw the cover of The Earl, a Girl and a Toddler.
Another baby.
I love it. Oh,
That's a
I
reveal.
love
There you go. I'm
Yes.
anxiously looking forward to the Viscount, the Virgin, and the Teenager, by the way.
There you go. But the hero is someone you met in the book, the barrister. So we're going to have our first Blackamoor Earl.
Yay.
Been elevated, and he's a dutiful dad, but dutiful dads are boring, and he's feeling he's been boring for a while, so he's looking for proper misters to
Nice.
liven things up. And
For it.
but it's also my first amnesia book. I've always wanted one of those.
Oh, that's fun.
Yay.
Do you, is it because you love reading amnesia stories?
Yes!
Okay. Yeah, right? I mean, write that like trope that you've been dying to write. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, I love it.
Sarah.
Sarah. I'm no
Joanna's
longer.
like, nope.
The role of moderator will now be played by Joanna Shu.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. It's like-
Stepping on Jen's toes.
I'm working on a new series. It's called Hell's Bells, Belles. It's about a Victorian era girl gang. So I think you can expect some more rage, more female rage, really transforming a world, which feels in my world like just a Tuesday in Sarah McLean writing. But also, so expect, I really feel like I'm with this series really trying to go big or go home. Like I want the plots to be bananas. I want the characters to be larger than life. Like I'm really working on I want them to be really tropey. Because I want them. I have so much fun when I'm writing these big, tropey, wild plots. And I know that they're not for everyone, but I really, really love them. And so I want to write, I have a list of the tropes I want to tackle that I've never tackled before. And, for me, it's always a little bit of what have I never done before? How can I challenge myself?
Have you ever written an amnesia book?
I have not.
Just saying. Just saying.
Oh,
Okay.
Put it on the list.
Yep. Joanna, what about you?
My next book, the next series is called The Fifth Avenue Rebels. And it's a group of guys at college who are outcasts from their society families, and they become friends at college. The first book, I wanted to write something set in Newport because people ask me all the time, when are you going to set something in Newport? So I wrote a book that is half set in Newport, half set in New York, but I wanted to write a compromise story. So, because I don't think I've written one before. So this is a compromise story.
What does that mean?
It means that they're forced to get married because somebody gets compromised.
I see.
I'm so excited. Joanna, we
What?
had plans to do a road trip to Newport, you and I.
Yes.
And that was before times.
Yeah.
So hopefully
When those houses open back up, we're going.
We're going to go.
Yeah, and the heroine is a tennis player,
Nice.
which was
I
fun.
love it.
Because women we'd see the start of professional tennis right in the Gilded Age. So that was fun.
mean, we've all read about Jordan in The Great Gatsby, so clearly no one's going to question that. Oh, no, she's a golfer.
She's a golfer, first of all.
She's a
and second of all,
golfer.
she's the fucking best.
Yeah,
and
she's amazing.
I want Jordan to have her own, I want fanfic for Jordan. Somebody's written it. I'm going to look.
Vanessa, you're going somewhere cool as we wrap up.
Yes.
So why don't you talk about that in case people want to follow you?
Yes. So actually, it's at 7 o'clock. So my bad.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
We have a little bit more time if we need it.
Okay,
Um,
but
fountain
Well, maybe we could take some questions.
I don't
Or
know how
actually,
you
wait a
do
minute,
that.
Wait a minute. No,
I
no,
can
no.
do
That's
that.
conversion time. That's I don't know what time it is. It says on the fountainbookstore.com. It's Summer Reads Tour. It's the I think Fountain Bookstore is in Texas. So if they say it's 7, it's actually 6, right?
No, isn't Fountain Bookstore?
No,
in Virginia?
Fountain is in Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah.
Then never mind.
Oh, okay.
I'm going. Don't ask me. I need.
No, tell everybody
tells me
you're going
everything.
to Fountain Books, and who is going to be with you at Fountain Books?
Thank
Vanessa?
you. Sharina Harris, author of Imperfectly Happy. Real Men Knits, Quanah Jackson, and Farrah The Boyfriend Project. So we're going to
Nice.
be over there, Summer
Very
Reads
true.
Tour for Fountain Bookstore, 7 p.m. EST today.
Which is
Hey, if somebody's in chat, they could also throw the link probably to the Eventbrite, which is on the Fountain website, into chat,
Yes.
and everybody should go. You have to register.
no, because they're just watching us. They're not.
No, they're watching us on Facebook
Oh, I got
and
you.
chatting.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
All right. I think I'm there.
Okay,
I
good.
think
Somebody
I'm here
help.
too. I think we might have questions.
Okay. I'm sorry. You
We
guys,
have
I
plenty
don't.
of time now to
I know.
dive
I'm
in.
like, someone's
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
better
look
at
at my
math.
phone.
the
I'm much
role
better at math
really
than
now
I am
will be
time.
played by Joanne too, because I can't get on Facebook. I don't have it on my computer.
Or if you have questions, you can leave them. Oh, somebody.
I'm
No.
seeing comments, but not a lot of questions.
Because
Oh,
I
I'm playing
didn't
it.
know everybody.
That's
I
okay.
didn't. You didn't know. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Look at you guys. I need you to understand. They were like 4:45 stop, and I was like, I'm on it.
You were good, but
You
I
did it.
am
You were
not good
great.
at the math conversion of apparently time.
Well, it's tricky,
Or
right?
reading or something like that. But 7 p.m. and the link is fountainbookstores.com/summer read.
Perfect. Perfect.
So, Vanessa, the next book is. So, how many books are in the series?
3 books in the series.
And so the next book is
So the
two.
next one is titled The Earl, a Girl, and a Toddler.
That's why I asked. I just wanted you to say it again.
So great. It's so great.
And wait, do you have a title for the third one?
Tentatively,
Oh my god, I can't
Wait,
wait.
can we all guess for real? Because it's got to be. It's
A
got
thing?
like the count.
No,
No, like no
not
count.
the count. No, the count's
Well, I'm
thumbs
thinking
down.
child. I'm
It
trying
could
to
be
work
the.
backwards
It
from
could
child.
be the Viscount.
Viscount.
It could be the
Viscount.
Viscount. It could be Lord. Is it a
The
Lord?
Viscount, the Vixen.
Vixen. That's where I was going to
Viscount,
go.
the
Good.
Vixen, and the preteen. Yeah. The
Tween and the
the
tween.
tween.
Yeah, that didn't
Oh.
exist. Talk about
Or-
ahistorical. People are going to be like,
yeah.
Sarah, Sherry asks, will we have more plus-sized characters in Hell's Bells?
You will. Book 1 is a plus-sized heroine. And I don't know. The other ones are, I mean, all my heroines are like curvy. So yeah.
Diana Quincy asks, what's a trope you hate and will never write?
Vanessa, you go first.
Thank you.
they just threw you right under the bus, didn't
We
they?
were like, it's her
The
turn.
trope
She
I
decided to
hate-
stay.
And will never write our.
That's a hard question.
It's very hard, right? So, the turning the evil guy into somebody swoony. I would love to be able to write that, but I don't think I'm capable of that. So
You could just give him-
down there.
No, you have an easy way. You give him a
Yeah.
baby.
There you go. There you go.
There you go. The villain, the vixen, and the baby. There you go.
Oh.
Okay. Tentatively. Now, once again, it hasn't passed mustard yet, but it's tentatively a Marquess, an Artest, and a baby maybe.
Mm.
Oh, cute.
Baby.
Maybe. I love it. How cute.
The Carly Rae Jepsen song in action. Okay. Amazing.
So much.
All right. Any other questions for us, Miss Shoop? Hmm.
Hey, wait a minute. Is this Joanna's
Oh my
way of
God,
getting out of
Alexis,
this question?
wait, you guys, Alexis Daria is in the comments and she just wrote a king, a queen, and a tween.
See, there you go. Listen, Vanessa, if you do not have a naming
Oh.
game for your next book, I
My
clearly,
God.
right? I'm
Yeah,
like, we know where the
that's-
fun is, and it is this.
That's a good one.
That is
Oh
definitely.
my god.
Um,
Okay, Joanna, what's a trope you hate and will never write?
I honestly can't think of anything. Like a trope that I hate.
Mine is so easy. Everybody knows.
Spies.
Just spies. Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
know. Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like there
yeah.
could be some good Gilded Age spy action, I think, personally.
How about this one? Cheyenne asks, I recently finished The Prince of Broadway and it was hot, hot, hot in all the best ways. Agreed. I can't wait to read The Devil of Downtown, both because I absolutely love the other Uptown Girls books, but also because I love the romance trope of opposites attract. What's your personal favorite romance trope, Joanna Shoup?
Enemies to lovers.
And how do you lean into romance tropes in your writing without making them feel too predictable or cliche? Because your stories are so engaging.
Oh, that's
nice.
Cheyenne,
very nice.
by me, and we will
And
gush about
true.
Joanna. All
Very
day long.
nice.
Very true.
I
How
try
do
to
you
I try
make
to just
tropes-
give something that like I write for myself, really. I write for like what haven't I read that I think would be fun for readers? Like what can I give them that maybe they haven't seen before? I mean, everybody probably writes that way, but
Yeah.
that's definitely like when I sit down to write, I try to think I mean, I'll often, text somebody and say, is this like too boring? Is this cliche? Is this like stupid? But I don't know. The wackier, the better, I think.
You know what? Can I ask Vanessa?
Mhm.
Can we talk about the hero's name in The Duke, A Lady and the Baby? Because
Yes.
I spent a lot of quality time wondering if I was pronouncing it correctly.
Well, now I'm Southern, which means we pronounce everything wrong. So I called it Busick.
You think, okay.
I have a list of horrible names in the Regency, and it's my personal goal to give them a happily ever after.
That's amazing. Well,
Oh my
I do.
God, that's
That's
incredible.
amazing. I love that.
Incredible. What
Archibald
a fun thing.
coming up.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, that is actually pretty
Oh
great.
my gosh. How
Oh.
long is the list? Forever. You're
It's
gonna be
pretty
writing for a
bad.
long
It's
time.
pretty bad. There's some over like, whoa.
Give us a couple more though, because we're enjoying it. Busick is, I was really like, oh, I've never seen that before.
I have to pull it up because short term is really bad. So it's pretty hard.
That's amazing. Actually, I love that. Well, I feel like if you had ever told me like one of my all-time favorite heroines was named Florence, I wouldn't have believed you. And yet there she is.
Named after my aunt, who died like just as I was starting to write that book.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
nice.
she was like she was a science school teacher in Tennessee, tough lady.
But now I feel kind of guilty about fuck yeah, Florence.
No, God, no. Okay, so Mary Cottam asks, when you start writing a series, do you have a planned plot for every chapter? Have you ever planned on writing one book that became a whole series?
Hmm.
Vanessa?
I try and make a blurb for each book after. And so that way make sure my character plot has enough in there so that I could support a series. One of my publishers came back for a fourth book and I was like, I'm screwed, right?
What?
But I had a throwaway line about a sister who had eloped and it went horribly wrong. And so that became the Bewildered Bride. So throwaway lines are great, but typically I have a plan of the main characters or the friends or the supportive friends, because I believe in sisterhood. So I have a nice cast of women in the book, all different types of women, and any one of them could end up being in a book, but typically I go in for 3.
Mm-hmm.
I plan all my series out, though I'm not a plotter of books. So when I sell them as, when I propose them as complete. So sometimes there are 3 and sometimes there are 4, and I always know what the big moment is in the final book that's going to kind of tie all the loose ends together over the whole series. Though you can read any of my books standalone, they're more rewarding, I think, if you read them as a whole series, because I try to reward your effort as a reader, your commitment. And so for me, in the case of this book, Daring and the Duke, I knew, I'm not going to spoil the end because I know a lot of people haven't gotten there yet, but there is a major event that happens at the very, very end of this book that I have known was going to happen for 4 books. And so setting everything, or for 4 years, since I sort of conceived of the series, so for 3 books. And now, hopefully, when you're finished, if you go back to the beginning of the series and you reread the whole series, you will see that it was there all along, that was what had to happen. So, but I don't plot. So I basically, the best way to describe it is, imagine if you woke up one morning and you had to go to the grocery store, but you couldn't use any of the roads you usually use. It's like, how would you get to the grocery store? That's what writing is like for me.
I feel like both of you are so much smarter than I am. Like,
No.
This series that I just sold to Avon is going to completely change, and my editor doesn't know it yet. But like, I've totally, like, now that I've written the first book, I'm like, oh, this is where it's going to go. And like the whole, like, at least the last book is going to be totally different than what my editor thought it was going to be. So,
Okay, but that's totally normal.
seems
I mean,
fine.
when I pitched the Casino series, you guys, Cross and Pippa are like the softest like couple ever. The original plot of that book was Cross was an opium addict who got shot and had to dry out, and Pippa was a doctor's daughter.
I would read that. Would read.
Yeah, but I mean, and I think and I pitched it to my editor, and she was like, yes, but I think in the back of her head, she was like, definitely
No.
not. But then by the end of book 1, I was like, well, obviously Cross is not an opium addict.
Vanessa had no idea her 3rd book was going to be about a vixen and a teenager until this very conversation. Strange.
Early synopses are just suggestions.
Sure.
Yeah,
You
sure.
cannot hold me to it, because by the time you get into there, it's gonna change.
Yeah,
No, they're
that's
just
true.
Words. Just words.
Oh, well, I want to say thank you. This was super fun, and I hope all of your release week dreams come true.
Thank you. This was
Jen.
fun. Thank you for doing it.
Yay, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's good to see all you ladies.
Don't forget to
guys.
follow Vanessa to East City Books. I think
No,
Lexi may have
Fountain Bookstore.
Sorry, Fountain Books. So many books. Fountain Books. You can go to the Fountain website and click events, and you'll get there. Or I bet Lexi, because she's so amazing, probably put it into.
She probably did.
Definitely. All right, so we're ending the live portion. Bye, everybody.
Bye.